One of the most exciting things about VR is the fact that you get to go places that have never existed, that are impossible to exist, that are fantastic.
Like a fantasy.
Fantasy.
So specifically, yes, fantasy.
Today we're going to take a look at the best of fantasy. Number 3 on our list is Dungeons and Treasure, which is a dungeon crawler.
That is correct. It is a game that you can find only on itch.io. It's not on Steam. And you have a bow that you can wander around the dungeon with and slay enemies. There's a teleport system, and it's kind of basic, but that's what you get with the free game.
It is, however, very interesting. It's well done. The art style is perfect for VR.
The art style is indeed perfect for VR, and the atmosphere lent itself well to the fantasy genre.
Lots of different places that you can go. You're killing the denizens of the dungeons and taking their treasure, hence the name Dungeons and Treasure. You've got a bow, you've got a sword, you've got various things that you can do. It's a quirky little game, and because of the fact that it's free and is interesting, it really does deserve a place in your library, even though it won't actually be in your Steam library.
Unless manually added.
It's worth trying out simply because it's so very quintessentially dungeon crawler. It's something that you're familiar with, and it's definitely a fantasy game through and through. For something a little bit bigger, we have our number 2 option, which is Dark Legion.
Now, Dark Legion was a very interesting game that was somewhat crippled by a little bit too much of a nagging AI and an annoying woman that kept telling you what to do. But it excels in other areas, such as weapon selection. There had to be like 30 different guns, C4 charges, interesting graphics. I mean, there was quite a few more pluses than there were negatives in it.
On top of that, there's a story, and it's a decent one. And it's immersive. This is one of the VR games in the fantasy genre that really manages to make you feel like you're in a place at a time, which is one of the biggest things that we want from VR.
I definitely like the fact that they allow you to explore worlds that you've never been to, and they give you large-chested companions to do it with, and annoying robots that won't leave you alone.
The only thing that we really didn't like about this game is the annoying robot, and that's because it just sits in front of you and makes beeping noises. You don't know what it wants, and you don't know how to get rid of it. I'm sure there's some way to do it once you know it. It's like a Portal 2 puzzle. You just, oh, of course, that's exactly how it should be done. But until you know it, it's very, very intrusive, and that's really the thing that holds this back from being a much better game.
I think it honestly could have vied for the top spot if it had not been for the detractions, specifically the AI.
Holding that top spot, however, is Carnage Chronicles.
Carnage Chronicles is very easily the best fantasy, almost role-playing game that I've seen for VR so far.
It has lots of different ways to play. You have different character archetypes. You have a huge, expansive dungeon that you can go through. You have loot and upgrades and all sorts of very neat stuff, from sword and board to bow and arrow to magic using. You've got it all. It's incredibly in-depth, very immersive, and incredibly well put together. Every single thing about this is good. It's one of the few games that we have recommended without any caveats whatsoever. It is a good game that we think you should try.
I almost demand that you buy it. There's a very good reason that it is number 1 on our list, and that's because of just how good it is. I have never before encountered enemies that were so well thought out, swordplay that was so well thought out, bosses, level design, everything in this game, as far as I'm concerned, was basically perfect. There was a couple nitpicks that I had, but they did not at all detract from the experience.
And all of the nitpicks that Crypto had about the game specifically were the kind of things where you're going, yeah, but I have to find something wrong with it. I'm a critic.
Basically.
If you're looking for an RPG, you're looking for a fantasy game, you're looking for a dungeon crawler, you're looking for any of the above, you want a melee game, you want to do bows, you want to do anything like that, this is the game for it. The only reason that we didn't talk about this in our best of bows is because it's not a bow-centric game. Otherwise, it would have been number 1 there.
I am interested to see where they develop this story too, because I know that because they called it Carnage Chronicles, they're going to be developing more in the series. And that makes me feel good about a VR game. Something they're not just going to asset flip and turn into something else. This is something that they care about, they're developing more of it, and they want the game to succeed. As VR consumers, I think that's what we should be supporting.
Besides the fact that it gives you everything you want in a VR game, from locomotion, teleportation, everything you've got, fantastic story, RPG elements, hack and slash and monsters and dodging monsters, and it's a fantastic game. We recommend it entirely. You're going to get 2 to 4 hours today. You're going to get 10 hours once it releases. It's fantastic. Pick it up today. That's our top list for fantasy games in VR. What do you think? Is there a different fantasy game that we should have looked at? Do you think that our ranking is incorrect? If so, let us know in the comments below. If you like it, like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. But if you did like it, go ahead and watch another video up there in the corner. And as always,
We'll see you on the next one.